Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 189. I hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Able to say thanks to at least one or more vets for our freedoms, giving them a moment of our thoughts. They made a big difference in our lives. We can't forget that, and we have to keep thanking them. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. You guys have had a busy week. The last couple podcasts have brought in more and more questions. I've answered all the emails that come in. And yes, to the biggest question coming in, I will try to do more gear podcasts with questions. As long as you keep giving me questions, that might be new food for thought. Also want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. Especially this past week. If you saw that little silly video we posted, they got in the shipment of camera bodies from Nikon. And if you've never worked in retail or in a shipping, to get all that stuff in from somebody, get it into inventory. So then, when you send it out, the computer's happy, everybody's happy. And do that all the same day. I mean, that's busting buns. And I am very grateful to Bedfords for getting the D6 in. And the next day, it was in my little neck of the woods here in Montana. That was just unbelievable. So thank you, Bedfords, for not only sponsoring the Moose Podcast, but for that incredible service that, made my Memorial Day weekend and time to come special with that D6. Remember at bedfords.com, Moose discount, MOOSE, as well as free shipping, anything over $99, and of course, no sales tax for most states. So thank you, Bedfords. Let me get right into this week's podcast. New Vistas to learn and love. Now, you could think of this in many ways, and when this podcast idea occurred to me, Sharon and I were driving up from Mammoth, in the process of moving here to Montana. And there's a number of places that I had seen since the late 90s when I was up here all the time that were always there in the back of my memory. I like to go photograph them, like to work them, blah, blah, blah. But, 2 days drive away or a plane flight, which is expensive, a rental car is money, they just weren't going to happen. Well, now these places are in my backyard. And to be honest with you, there are places there in Mammoth where, my family been since 1900, and I've been there for 25 years living that literally in my backyard that I did not venture to see the new vistas and come to love them. So when I've got up here, I decided that was going to change. I was going to take advantage of more things literally in my backyard that, point blank, I would otherwise kind of ignore. Now, the current state of our world, and I truly hope and pray that you and yours are safe and sound during these very bizarre times. I don't know how else to say it. But they've kind of, especially as, phase 2 to more things opening up to phase 4, you might not want to travel very far. You might want to not take the risk of planes, rental cars, or hotels. You need to find things in your own backyard. Are there vistas in your own backyard that you have not explored or come to love? Now, one that's really, I guess it's going to sound really weird coming from me, but it takes me way back in time, are botanical gardens. When I lived in Santa Barbara, and we lived there for something like 18 years, I think it was, Santa Barbara Botanical Gardens was this amazing location. It was just up the hill enough. You got off the coastal plain, you got into the very unique chaparral that was on the coast. And it's unique because it has that coastal influence, but it still has the lack of rain that made it chaparral. I would haunt that place. I was there all the time. We did everything from I was in the research library to doing presentations to I was all over the trails nonstop photographing the birds at the botanical gardens because of that unique ecotone and look that word up, ecotone. It's a cool biological term. There's lots of things that were right there up the hill that were easy to photograph. There's a really old photograph out there of me with my old 800-5.6 EDIF lens, the original 800-5.6 manual focus, and on one of those baby chest carriers, there's baby Brent, and I'm sitting there photographing Penapepla nest there at the Botanical Gardens with Brent right there and the lens in front of me. So Botanical Gardens, you're going to say, yeah, Moose ain't going there for flowers. Heck no. I'm going there for the birds. But whether you're there for the flowers, the birds, or the very graphic nature of leaves and branches, most places have botanical gardens. It's a brand new vista that you might not have ever thought about that could be a really great photographic resource literally in your backyard. On a personal note, now that we're here up in Montana, today we're going to head out to a place called Teller Wildlife Refuge. Now, the Metcalf National Wildlife Refuge is even closer. It's just literally just a couple miles down the road. And Teller is just a few more miles past it. And Teller is a private wildlife refuge. You pay a small little fee to enter, but it has one of the biggest congregations of wood ducks. And I have not had male wood ducks in my viewfinder for decades. So I'm really excited. It's a brand new vista that I'm planning on going to, and I have the feeling I'll fall in love with it. Are there things in your back of your mind that maybe this rings a bell of some place that's right in your own backyard you might want to, go out and venture to? I hope it does. Now, what's the plan of attack? Well, that's a really good question. It's like anything. I have the basic MO that I always follow when I do something like this. I'm going to go on the web. I'm going to look up information. I'm going to figure out the lay of the land as best if I can. Which way is east? Which way is west? Why is that important? The light. You got to look at operating hours. You got to see if there's any restrictions, especially in these days. I do my basic homework, and then Sharon and I are going to pack up the binoculars, the camera gear, a picnic dinner, and we're going to head out and check it out this afternoon. Why this afternoon? The topography of the land. I think the morning, until I get to know the location, the mountains are such that the light might be coming up over the mountains when it's a little bit too bright or too harsh. And in the evening, I think I got some better opportunity for some softer direct light as the sun goes down. That's my general plan. We'll see how it works. When it comes to gear, I'll be the D6, the 800. That's because I'm going after birds. And I'll definitely have the Z7 and the 24-70 for any kind of landscapes. We have a few clouds in the sky, but mostly it's a blue sky day. So I've got a general plan of attack. What are you going to do? What vista's behind you that perhaps you've never checked out? Now, I'm talking about going beyond your physical backyard, within your fence or your property boundary. I'm talking about going within, maybe 3 to 5 miles. What is there that you can go and explore? Now, some folks, and I understand this completely, they're saying, I've been kind of cooped up and I've listened to all this great advice about what I should photograph at home when I'm stuck at home. And I'm tired of doing self-portraits because that's what I'm down to. Coin collection, it's not worth the time. So I'm getting photographically rusty. I'm getting unmotivated, for lack of better terms. There are some really good words some people have used about that, by the way. So very entertaining. Thank you. How do I get back into it? There was an interesting thing that came out in the local news lately. And this gal was talking about how we could kind of keep our mental and emotional faculties stimulated during these times when we don't have that personal contact to make a difference. And she said, you got to eat well. Check that off the list. Got to sleep well. Check that off the list. You got to do something new every day. I like that. Check that off the list. And then you basically have to sit there and figure out a way to get back in contact with, for lack of better terms, yourself. So in this process of looking at new vistas and shaking off the bugs and the cobwebs of being cooped up, looking for that new vista you can fall in love with that's really close in itself can be a great recipe to get past it. I mean, you can do some web searches. I bet you can find some locations really close to you didn't know were available. How about an abandoned warehouse that's full of graffiti? How about a rail yard full of old train engine parts that, be great graphics? How about some, art installation of, bronze statues that maybe you can go explore and do some black and white work? Maybe look at something that you just got that brand new 1.4 lens, a 28, a 24, a 105, something like that. And you're looking for something that 1.4 is killer for. What about, perhaps exploring, you might want to say, okay, portrait photographer, wedding photography is looking pretty good right now. Finding a place that you could take someone that you could talk to, making sure that you figure out the right lens and flash for someone that's 6 foot away, and a place, location to start working that. I mean, what new vistas are right there nearby that perhaps you have taken for granted because we have the luxury of going places that maybe now that we have that luxury, but we don't have that desire. We're kind of like hesitant. Can you take advantage of? And I've talked a lot about your own backyard because, that's just an amazing place. I have to be honest with you. I'm sitting here incredibly distracted as I record the podcast as I have I got about almost 40 evening grosbeaks that have just overran the ranch this week. And I'm now looking for that rose-breasted to be amongst them. But anyway, getting past your own backyard and birds might be the recipe to start breaking out a little bit of that photography. And some of you, like myself, are quite fortunate, received the D6 this past week. What can you do to challenge yourself with that new vista to fall in love with the camera? Right off the bat, the D6, really like the D6. More to come, but it's a new vista that I've quickly fallen in love with. There is most importantly, the 24 by 30s coming out of that D6, doing a side-by-side with the D5. There is a couple evolutionary stops of better improvement, of gorgeousness in that D6. I love that, and there's a lot more. But anyway, what do you have in your locker that you can sit there and maybe it's an old piece of gear that you haven't used in a long time that maybe, quote unquote, really should be dusted off, and maybe that's your new vista to fall in love with. You got to sit there and kind of push through these things. I know it's easier said than done, especially if you are in a big city, which so many of you are in that challenge. But if you sit there and look, you might be surprised what you'd find. How can you look from within your walls? Because going out and just exploring isn't really advantageous. Hey, you might do a simple Google search and look for images in your block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks out. Look for images. You'd be surprised the wealth of photographic inspiration you can find doing a simple Google search on images on your neighborhood, places you might not know about. I mean, New York City, they've got so many little parks tucked away in so many little places. One of our favorite things Sharon and I like to do is just walk the streets of New York and find those little parks, because each one has got some really cool stuff. And now it's spring. There's some great stuff out there. So you've got to stretch a little bit. It's going to be not, as easy as it was perhaps last year, but there are new vistas out there for you to learn and to fall in love with. It's just upon you to go out and find them and do just that. Because that's, in a large part, what photography is all about. And in that process, you'll move your photography forward, and that is a great recipe just to shake off the blues, feel better about things. Again, thank you all for what you've been doing to support the Moose Podcast. I hope you're out there shooting and I hope it helps you. And remember to make every click your story.